And what's going on, folks? Shawn Long here of NintendoEnthusiast.com, and you are in the Google Hangout with some really cool indie devs to hype up E3, talk about it a little, have some fun. Y'all know me from Week in Review, all my crazy shows, my writing, at ShawnLong85 on Twitter. Samuel. Now I'm going to pass it off to Andy.
Hello, I'm Andy. I generally interview developers all around the world when I'm not doing the news on the Nintendo Enthusiast website you see every day. Nash.
Please don't pass it over to me. I'm trying to embed the video onto the site. So you guys go on without me. Shawn, take it over, please.
Okay. Let's go with Mike.
Yep. So I'm Mike Aschenbrenner. I'm the only guy over at RC Maniacs, creator of Block Drop U, among some other upcoming titles that we might get to talk about today. So had a lot of fun at this last time, so hope to have a lot of fun again.
All right. John.
Hey everybody, I'm John Warner. I'm the developer over at Over the Moon Games. We're working on a project called The Fall. We're out on Steam, and we're just working on a Wii U port right now, actually, which is finishing up and should be off to Nintendo for certification soon, so you can look for that. But it's my first time here with the group, so I'm just here to have fun and chat a little bit and see how it goes.
And finally,
Nobody knows how to pronounce my name. I'm Sinutton. I'm a developer from Brisbane, Australia. I'm working on Assault Indra Cactus, which is coming to the Wii U, so that's why I'm here to talk about all things E3, Nintendo, and various other.
All right, cool. And that's Minash. He's the site owner. Everybody knows Minash. All right, so I guess first and foremost, what did everyone think of the presentations we've seen so far, such as Microsoft, EA, and the...
Okay, well, I guess I'll start since no one's talking. I was actually, when I began to watch the Xbox conference, I'm not a first-person shooter kind of guy, so, it was extremely boring to me for probably the first half hour, 45 minutes. But once they shown Sunset Overdrive, that's when it really started to pick up for me. I think it's a very unique looking game. I just like the look of it. We'll see how it plays when it comes out later this year, but to me, that's kind of what kicked off the announcements that catered to the non-first-person shooter type people. So I really enjoyed seeing that and seeing a lot of the indie games that are coming to Xbox One. That was really exciting to see. There's actually one too. I forget what the name of it was. That looked like an old Disney cartoon that I thought was just phenomenal looking. So we'll see how it plays when it comes out. But like I said, when it started off, I was disappointed, but it picked up in the beginning, and so far from what I've seen from the other conferences, it's my favorite so far. So.
I think my biggest, I haven't seen anything, so pretty much everything that I know, I'm just going on Twitter and what little I have seen since I've been home. I think my biggest thing was, it was almost similar to like Nintendo's press conference last year. Like it seemed very reserved and like really like when they started off with Call of Duty. It's kind of like, okay, I kind of see how this is going. Like that Sunset game does look sick. I'm very interested in that. But I mean, Tomb Raider and Call of Duty and another Fable, which never lives up to its expectations. I don't know. It felt a little just. I mean, it was great to see a lot of games, but you would have thought, with basically PS4 just destroying it in sales right now, they would have done something maybe a little different to try to drum up some interest, because for me, there wasn't anything that really said, hey, okay, now's the time to buy an Xbox One, which is similar to how the Wii U was last year, because there was nothing really that made you say, hey, now it's time to buy a Wii U. So I just thought, maybe the whole drop in the Kinect thing kind of changed how they were going to attack it. I don't really know, but that's kind of what I took from it. Andy, I know you've been watching some things today. What did you think of it?
Yeah, to be fair, I completely kind of zoned out and I missed half the Microsoft event. Like I remember the cameo guy coming on stage to talk about a game, but I didn't really pay attention. Apparently, the Division was shown. I didn't even notice it. It was all about Sunset Overdrive, but yeah, everything else is uninspired. Everything that should look good isn't coming out until next year. So yeah, it's very similar to the Wii U last year's E3, where there's just nothing coming out, nothing to get excited about.
I was most excited by Mirror's Edge, actually. I mean,
Yes,
somebody else must be kind of
completely.
excited about that, right?
Yeah, I think that was the only thing I noticed so far.
Is that right?
Was actually, yeah, yeah.
It's beautiful, like way better looking than the first one, and the first one is beautiful too.
Yeah,
I,
definitely.
I was actually really pumped for the whole Conquer thing. When I seen him cutting through Project Spark, it reminded me of that dreadful day that way back in E3 2000, what was it, 2003 or 2002, where Microsoft announced their acquisition of Rare, and so my heart kind of dropped at first, right? And then and then they were like, "Oh, well, here's Conquer, so you can make your own game since we're not doing shit, right?" So that was actually kind of clever. I'll hand it to them. But when I seen them cutting through the logo, I thought, they were gonna drop a bomb on us, and they didn't.
Yeah, I'm always kind of like have this bittersweet relationship with Rare now, because a part of me wants to see like one E3 suddenly they blow out this incredible looking Banjo Kazooie or Conquer game
Yeah.
like good old times, and the other side of me is like I want them to burn. They left Nintendo, they're gonna burn.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, what have they really? What is Rare to me is kind of like an almost like a nostalgia company. Like, they
Mm.
haven't really done anything cool in a while. So it's almost like, do they still have it? I mean, could they still make something cool? Possibly, but they haven't in such a long time. And I don't know if that's because of Microsoft or if that's because of just their own decision. But the whole Microsoft and Rare thing seemed very strange to me. Like it was they did a lot of stuff on Xbox, not so much on 360, and then now it's just like nothing. So I don't know.
I mean,
What's
it's
the
always
last
a
thing
question
they
to
made
me.
that hit?
Connect Sports.
Yeah.
No, surely it must have been before that,
I think Viva Pinata was probably their
right?
most half decent game.
Yeah, I
I had
don't
some
think it's
fun
the
with it.
same people anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's true.
like from my own experience of working at a big studio, I worked at a studio that had 80 something people there when I started, and then 5 years later when I quit, uh, none of those 80 people were still there, even though the studio was still there with a lot of people. They just cycled everyone out. And I think that's the kind of thing that happened at Rare is like everyone's gone.
Yeah.
It's called Rare, but it's actually just like a group of people who make games, and they haven't
Yeah.
made anything remotely like what Rare used to make in a long time.
Mm.
My question is always what's more important to a game? Is it a specific developer? Like, take indie development studios, for example. You could sometimes have one person who's the entire vision for a game. But then you
Yep.
have these massive companies that have a certain like philosophy or a certain vision. So take Nintendo, it's not just Shigeru Miyamoto anymore, but it's an entire company with thousands of people all going after a certain vision. So the question is, let's say Rare, it's lost a lot of its individual talent, like the Stamper brothers who originally created it, and then there was also other specific, unique personalities. So right now, what are they left with? All they're left with is the brand and the personality or the vision that Rare created, but they don't actually have the people that created Rare games. So the question is, which actually matters more? And I think that personally, the people matter more. When
Oh,
you lose the
Absolutely.
talent, yeah. Look at all you indies, right? Every single
Yeah.
one of you has your own vision, and it's much easier to control that when you're one or a handful of people. When you're the size of Rare, if you don't have those people, you're just going to lose the vision.
You know what's a funny example of that is this new homeworld that they're building. Because back when Relic started up, they had Rob Cunningham over there doing the creative direction for Homeworld, and I think that guy is probably the reason why they had this incredibly strong visual style, and not just visual, but just style in general. and since he's gone over to Blackbird and we're seeing this new game, they started out as, I think it was Ship Records. I'm not sure if they're still going with that name in some capacity,
Hardware
but like,
shipwreckers, yeah.
yeah, that's right, yeah. But totally like same style as that original, like just that original beautiful homeworld feeling, you know. So it's amazing. I'm super excited to see him get back in the driver's seat with that kind of thing.
I'm interested to see, but I'm maybe a slightly more concerned about it than most people. Mostly because the first version they talked about was like kind of looked like Homeworld, and then it was actually a free-to-play Facebook game. So I
Yeah.
don't really know how you go from that to making a Homeworld game. I guess we'll see what they've changed.
Am I missing something? Maybe I
The
haven't.
first version, the Homeworld Shipwreckers, was announced. All the details were, was going to be like the Facebook style game with, you know, thousands and thousands of players and free to play microtransactions and all of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yay! I didn't know. I must have missed some information there.
So I'm hoping they've apparently changed a fair bit of the design since then, now that they've got the Homeworld license, but it doesn't inspire me with confidence that it's going to be the Homeworld sequel I kind of want.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. This is kind of an indie gathering here that nobody's really stoked about free to play.
It's okay. One of the guys on the team for Cactus, he was working on free-to-play Facebook games before we quit to do this, and they don't have to be bad, but I don't know. It's like first-person shooters don't have to be boring, but a lot of the time they are, I guess.
Mm.
Would any of you ever experiment with that model, free to play?
Sure.
I'm not opposed to it, I guess. I actually experiment a little bit with the iPhone market and that kind of thing. So I kind of did a similar thing, but it's hard and it's a lot of work. There's like a lot of data you need to gather and manage and iterate on and stuff like that, which I don't think that's really my style.
I mean, I honestly think that with free to play, you have to be committed to always adding new content in order to keep a steady stream of revenue going. So, I mean, I'm kind of getting to the point now that, you know, even after just 3 months, I'm kind of burnt out from working on Block Drop U. So I can't even imagine what it would be like having to work for a couple years on a free to play, adding new content just to kind of to make a decent amount of money. And I know Nintendo's cool with the idea of having a free to play game. I just haven't seen anyone really do it yet, uh, other than the what is it, Zen Pinball, but that's really not. I mean, they're just basically giving you a demo, and then you have to pay for the total.
That Rusty baseball game, Rusty's Baseball or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and Steel Diver was the same thing too.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? What do you guys think Nintendo's going to be announcing? Bringing the conversation to E3 a bit.
I know. Right?
Well, they're buying me out for 2 million seconds. Yeah, shit.
Let me throw you a curveball. What's happening at E3 tomorrow?
Okay.
What's going down?
I still am hoping. I mean, and especially with the news today about 15 Capcom games coming to the eShop, I think all the stars are aligned for my Capcom versus Nintendo crossover fight, begging and pleading for. And look, if they announce it tomorrow and like somebody texts me or tweets me that it was announced, I'm just walking out of work because and I'm gonna go buy a lotto ticket and then I'm gonna win $1 million and then I ain't gotta worry about nothing because that'll be the greatest day of my life. But seriously, I think probably something Metroid. I think Bayonetta 2 will release. They'll give it a release date of July. Smash for Wii U in November. Hyrule Warriors probably September. Just good pacing on the titles that we already know about, and then as far as the other stuff that we don't know about, I'm not even going to speculate because sky's the limit with that.
Yeah. There's like a lot of Nintendo fans who are like, there's two types of Nintendo fans. The ones who are very sobering and try and be like really realistic. Like whatever happens, I'm going to be excited, but probably I'm not going to guess anything. Then there's the ones who are like, I saw on NeoGAF or on 4chan, this weird image. Do you think that maybe Nintendo's buying out Capcom or whatever? Like, or do you think that there's going to be some, I don't know, Metroid versus Star Fox versus F-Zero?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Yes,
They
exactly.
should totally announce a new Star Fox game to blow everyone's minds.
Yeah.
I'm always waiting for the next Metroid game.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see Metroid though. I think it's
I don't
too.
think so either.
I think
don't
it's
think so
way
either.
too soon to see. I mean, I honestly just don't think we'll see Metroid. I mean, the only thing that I really want out of this E3 is a new fucking wave race. I want a new wave race so bad. Like, and I say this I've been saying this every year since E3 2020 or 2002, which is a year after Blue Storm came out.
Right.
Like, I've just been waiting forever. Just give me an HD remake of the N64 game, and I'll be good for another 10 years. Like, I just need something. So,
You have any idea how well Blue Storm did?
Blue Storm, from what I understand, people said it did terrible, but the numbers that I've seen, it sold a couple million copies. So, I mean, for the GameCube, since the GameCube only sold like 20 million units, that's pretty good. I mean, I would consider. I mean, it didn't sell as much as Wave Race 64, but I think that it still did well enough that maybe give it to who were the developers behind the Mario Soccer game, Next Level Games, I think.
Yeah.
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 Give it to them.
Yeah, they did
They,
that on
they
Luigi's
know how to
Mansion.
do extreme sports games. Give them something, or maybe that's what they're working on now. Who knows? But yeah, I just read that. Yeah, that's
That
that
was
was
also a good game.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, Nintendo is like all year. Ah, God, that hurts. All year, like they've been, getting, pretty much second-party studios where, they're working exclusively with Nintendo, and then I don't, and then with the other, big question mark is the character licensing, because Iwata said that we would see some character licensing stuff at E3, so I'm expecting to see new things, such as Capcom versus Nintendo.
Oh, I think Shawn froze there for a second.
Shawn froze.
There you go.
Perfect point in the sentence to freeze, though.
Right. But I mean, there's a lot of characters in the Nintendo lineage that you could make sort of a different game with. So I think it'll be interesting because I mean, at the end of the day, companies want to make money, and they kind of use that as an excuse as to why they don't put things on the Wii U because of the install base and whatnot. But at the same time, if you are using a special Nintendo character licensing thing, that's going to make your game sell better. I mean, look at Sonic Lost World. I mean, initially I was like, okay, new Sonic game, that's cool. And then when that Hyrule DLC came out, I was like, oh wow, this is pretty awesome. I want to check it out. And the same thing with the Yoshi thing, because the character licensing, it doesn't even necessarily have to be the character. It could be environments and stuff, and different takes on environments. So I think we'll see a lot of. Well, I'm hoping we see a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd like to just see more content in general. I mean, it kind of doesn't go without saying, but it's a little bit starved for games right now. I think that's probably one of the reasons that not a lot of people have picked it up.
Yeah, I think that they would if there would be some more big first-party titles, like you see with Mario Kart 8. Hopefully for Smash Brothers also. People are getting psyched for it. They just need a reason to buy the Wii U.
Besides, I think it's almost besides the big game. But then again, I mean, I think Mario Kart 8 is gonna sell very well for a good length of time, and it'll move systems for a good length of time as well. Just they gotta have something pretty quick to follow that up with, and who knows what that's gonna be.
Yep.
What piques my interest is a lot of the games that we heard just like a teeny bit about. For example, there's the roundtable that's going to happen at 5:30 or 6 tomorrow about a 3DS game that's unannounced. So if they're having a Smash Brothers roundtable with Sakurai and then a 3DS title roundtable, it's got to be something pretty big, right?
Mario Maker.
I'm willing to put my money on that it's Majora's Mask 3D. I mean, that's honestly something that people just like are always asking for. I've never.
Would they make a roundtable just to discuss like a up-res remake?
Possible. I mean, it depends on what else they got up their sleeves. If they don't got anything else to show, then that's probably going to be the biggest thing for 3DS, other than Smash Brothers, of course, to show off. So.
I'd love to see an up-res version of Majora's Mask.
I would also. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to. I would buy that. It doesn't make for the most interesting like E3 reveal though. It's kind of like they should just do that.
Right.
Right. That should be like just
Common
like
sense.
What about
No.
the possibility of that game they've trademarked called Steam? What's it called? Strike Force Exterminating the Alien Menace?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that could be interesting.
It'd be nice if it was a first-person shooter. We've been waiting for a Nintendo FPS for a while now.
Well, I mean, the last one they made, well, they didn't really make it, but I mean, it was affiliated with them with Geist. And,
I love Geist, by the way.
dude, Geist is freaking awesome. Like,
I know. I'm a cult Geist fan.
bam, like
There we go.
all day, every day.
Hmm.
I mean, it had good mechanic. The graphics sucked. I don't know who.
It had major flaws, which obviously held it back from becoming this mainstream great game. Because it had great ideas, but
Oh God, yes. That the possession stuff was.
possession was
I mean,
incredible.
and I think that's what Nintendo likes to do is if they're gonna do, a very Western game. Oh, I finally got this sticker off after all these.
No, I was just gonna comment about that ugly Okay,
Um,
I'm glad you took it off because that
oh,
was.
dude, I've been trying forever. Never come in. But like Nintendo, if they're gonna make a really Americanized game, they always want to seem to do it differently. Like they've never, like the last really Americanized, just straight up Americanized game they made was like Kobe Bryant's NBA Courtside for like for the GameCube they made one for.
Yeah.
But I don't know, they kind of like to just be different about bigger titles, like I guess because of oversaturation. I mean, how many first-person shooters does one need?
But it would still be nice, even if they cut out the blood and just made like a paintball.
No, just do
Mushroom-
Metroid Hunters.
Yeah, something like that. It just gets them into the first-person shooter setting, and then see where they could go with it. Nintendo Party style.
I mean, Metroid Prime Hunters makes perfect sense because, I mean, that was the best first-person shooter on the DS. Like that was it, and it was fun. And with
Moon Chronicles. Moon. That was the best DS first-person shooter.
with better technology and stuff. I mean, you can use in single player, have the Wii U gamepad, hold it up, and use it as a sniper rifle or something. And then for your online, just have strict online stuff where it's just basic online game. I think it would make sense.
Are they bringing Fatal Frame to the Wii U? I read that somewhere, right? Do you know the
Yes.
Fatal Frame series?
Yes.
That's-
I think
they are doing that.
in Japan right now, right?
Right, it's in Japan. They did, they actually, a lot of people don't realize that they did Fatal Frame remakes in Japan and Europe, actually, but they never made it to the States, I guess, because of whatever reason. But a lot of people seem to think that Fatal Frame for the Wii U won't make it over here. I think it will, and that's another dark horse candidate for something. A
That'd
realistic.
be a cool thing for them to show because like the controller works so perfectly there where it's a camera and you're pointing it at the game world, right? So
Right, and I mean, they wanted to put a stronger emphasis on games that really use the gamepad. So, I mean, that's perfect. Like literally, it probably won't sell all that great, but that's a great intro for the hardcore gamers to check out. Like, oh yeah, this is scary, and it's got a cool thing with the gamepad. So I think that would be definitely a good game to show off if possible tomorrow.
Do any of you guys have any plans to make horror games for the Wii U?
I
No.
love horror games, and I've always wanted to make one, but not right now. I mean, the fall is kind of creepy. Some people have
Yeah, the fall's a
likened it
bit
to a horror
creepy,
experience.
right?
Yeah, but I wouldn't really call it horror.
I mean, Block Drop U is actually scary fun. It's probably
Shameless.
about as close to horror as I'm gonna get in my game.
What about your casino game, the poker game?
Poker of Death.
Chris,
Poker of Death.
you better you better win that game, man, or else it's coming after you, man.
Yeah.
It's like watching
Nice,
video
scary.
7 days later you die. So you gotta be careful. So, but yeah, tomorrow will be exciting. We'll see. I'm a little disappointed it's only 30 minutes, but other than that, it should be.
Yeah, I had a weird thing with Nintendo today because early in the morning I saw Andy put it up at like 8:30 in the morning or something, our time. So I reached out to Nintendo right away. I was like, I don't want to dampen the excitement for everybody before E3, so could you guys clarify? So they said, okay, we're going to forward your question, see, whatever, from their PR people, the Nintendo people, see if they could give an answer. And then I didn't hear a response, and then like much later the day, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, suddenly they got back to me. They were like, "Could you provide us with a link to the story?" So I provided a link, and then I didn't hear anything again. So there was obviously some kind of discussion going on whether they wanted to give an answer or not. So I guess it's going to be a surprise. I didn't get an answer in the end.
Well, doesn't it have it listed on the schedule as an hour, right? But it almost I had an idea. If it is an hour, they could do 30 minutes of all the cool stuff that they're coming out with, and then 30 minutes of Zelda U.
Well, wasn't the person that broke the news about it being 30 minutes like a Japanese site or a Japanese
Nico.
or something like that? So
Yeah.
couldn't it be that just the Japanese version of the video done is 30 minutes? I mean,
Well, one of the things was that this person, I think his name was Nico or something, had previously that
Somebody's unhappy.
they reported that the Smash Brothers
Invitational?
yeah, no, the direct was only going to be 30 minutes long, and that ended up being 39 minutes. So it's almost like how much legitimacy is really behind it. I mean, it's just like that.
They had that squiggle thing that means approximately.
Right. I
Like
mean,
squiggle 30, so it could be 39 minutes.
yeah, but I don't know about you guys, but the extra 9 minutes was all stuttering on my end. So that it could have been 30 minutes of actual footage, and then 9 minutes of the video creeping and panning out and babies crying in the background. Stuff.
You still with us?
Can you hear me? Are you good? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
oh wow.
What was the last thing you heard me say?
Oh no, I heard you.
Okay.
We do have a question from someone. Oh, I just realized that it's anonymous. They were asking about how would we react to a Wii Zapper,
Peripheral.
for a Wii U Zapper. I would be indifferent because I think I don't know how much practicality would be involved in that, and I don't know how many games would really support that. Because I mean, whereas on, let me go to the collection here. You had Ghost Squad, which supported the Zapper. You had Old House of the Dead game. I mean, there was a bunch of cool games that, the Wii was a perfect light gun, even without, as a peripheral. So I don't really know if it would be practical unless, there are games in development for it that we just don't know.
Well, it's actually funny that you mentioned that. Back in September, when I was kind of like prototyping around with a bunch of ideas on my first game,
Why is Andy laughing?
What?
What's so funny?
I got like a booger in my nose or something?
Yeah, who are you laughing at?
The kids.
Oh,
The crying kids?
yeah.
You hear my kids cry. I didn't know that was coming over.
Yeah, dude, it's loud as hell.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, we've been listening to the listening to it for a while.
It's funny,
You should have told me.
I thought that was
Dick
yeah.
and mute
I'm
you.
looking around like, where the hell are the damn kids at?
It's bedtime in my house.
But I don't.
It's
Is
a battle.
Is
It's a battle.
there him or something?
Let me mute myself now. Actually, you know what? I'm actually gonna get off because I have to start packing for E3.
All right, broski.
All right, we'll see, man.
Have fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, some of the ideas I had for like a small, a small simple game involved the Zapper, and I actually, sent out a tweet asking people like, is this something that you would be interested in? And I mean, the problem is that with it not being sold in stores anymore, and since it would be something that would be a requirement of the end user to have, how well is your game really going to sell if it requires the use of a additional accessory? So, I mean, ultimately, I did away with it. Now, if I was ever presented with an opportunity to say like make a mini game and then Nintendo would package it up and sell it with the Zapper, I would definitely jump on that. But it's hard to support something when the end user goes to your game page and it says, hey, you're required to have this accessory. It kind of puts a damper in their purchasing. So I don't know if I would support it or not. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. It's the same way. Like, should you require a Wii remote as part of a game? And for the Wii U, I mean, you can't really do that because what if they don't have a Wii remote? So,
Well, guys, somebody educate me here. Maybe I'm missing something. The Wii motes are obviously compatible with the Wii U, and the peripheral on the Wii was the Wii Zapper where the Wiimote plugs into it, right?
Yep.
So what's the question? Are we talking about a new peripheral that's somehow different from that? Like, what's the
Yeah, there's let me see if I can find the picture. There's actually they in their E3 2011 press video, they showed a Wii Zapper as part of the promo video, and they actually have a patent on it as well.
Oh, really?
That was demoed with one of the games which was in Game & Wario. Can't remember what it was called.
So I'm gonna show this, and we're gonna try the screen share here without me showing my taskbar. We'll see if it's works.
That's insanely redundant. Yes.
Okay, can you see the picture?
Oh yeah, I got it here. Yeah.
All right, so here's the Wii Zapper with the old style Wii U gamepad, which is awesome. But yeah, so it's basically a Zapper, but they just added a little notch to plug in which I'm assuming that's why you have that like extension port on the bottom of the Wii U gamepad. So.
I see what you mean. That's a good idea. It's kind of you can kind of like use it as a scope, right, or something like that.
Yeah, they actually demoed it with that game that is in Wii Party U, where you look into. I think that's what they demoed it with, right? It was that mini game where you're looking into the building.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that what they used to demo it? I think it was. I haven't watched it in a while. Maybe I'll watch it tomorrow morning while I'm waiting for the for the digital event. But yeah, I mean, it would help with like accuracy and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. I think it would be cool. I'd buy it, of course. I'd buy everything that they fucking make. But
Imagine it being a bit heavy.
I mean, I would throw my money at it. We'll see. But I just it's hard to make a game for it if you're requiring an additional accessory. I mean, so. But it would be nice to have like an extra game mode, or maybe like, and this is just a crazy idea I'm throwing out here. This is not confirmed, but if I were to make like a second block drop, maybe having a level, some levels where you have to use the Zapper gun, to zap the blocks or something like that. Use it as like an additional mode where it's not required. That would be something that I could see myself doing.
What is
Well,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, you good. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the add-on stuff's kind of interesting. I don't think like if you're making an indie game or small or niche game, it's not too out of the realms of possibility that you would make something that requires a bunch of add-ons or a Wii mode or anything like that, just because you're already not trying to appeal to like every single person out there in the world, right? But I don't think it's the most interesting thing you can do with the Wii U. I think that the two things that really interest me on that platform is if you're going to make a game, you should make something that like if you're trying to make a Wii U specific game, Wii U exclusive game that really does great on the Wii U, you should make something that uses the Wiimote to its full, like the gamepad, sorry, to its full potential, and try and like do something interesting that you can't do anywhere else. It's kind of the same way you can get on Xbox One and make a Kinect 2.0 game, although nobody's made a good one yet.
Yeah, I'd like to see a little more of that stuff, but I gotta just make the point that there's also the other fear from the indie side, which is, I mean, I know for the fall, like marketing is a concern, and we're struggling right now to get visibility. But of course, one of the nice things about Unity is that it can publish on so many platforms with actually relative ease. So it's kind of a safety strategy for us to have as much of a diverse launch as possible.
Yeah, that's something we did with our game as well. And it's not that we planned to be on a ton of different platforms. It's more like we made a game, then that game happened to make sense, so it's going to be on,
Right.
PC, PS4, Vita, and Wii U. But I do think there's some benefit to being like platform exclusive. You get more, you get a broader base if you're on a bunch of different platforms, but you might actually get a lot more interest if you're only on one. You see that all the time where something gets announced as even console exclusive these days. If you're on PC plus one console, it kind of like people generates interest. So it's a weird space at the moment.
And now would probably be the time to do it for the Wii U as well. I mean, there's not very many games. There's a little bit of room, right?
Yeah, they just announced what was it? Stealth Bastard 2 is Wii U exclusive, right? Coming from Curve Studios. So
I don't think I saw it.
that's kind of cool. It'd
Stealth
be awesome if
Bastard.
they showed that at E3, actually. I'd like that. If they're going to do like an indie section of their digital thing, show some like actual exclusive Wii U games like that.
Oh, this is beautiful. So this is kind of like a Monaco-inspired situation.
Well, they did,
Yeah, well, their first game was pre-Monaco, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, so they were doing this before.
they did do they released a bunch of indie trailers today on their what was that, Andy?
18 of them.
18 of them, yeah. Of all these indie games that are coming out for both the Wii U and the 3DS, so I don't know how much they'll actually show new wise. I mean, it would be cool if they did, because I mean, really, what it boils down to is the indies are kind of the third parties on the Wii U until they start coming back. So here's a good question. We've talked to Mike about this before, but how for John, and I'm not gonna try. I'll call you Cat.
Not works.
Not
Like NAT kind of thing. Yeah, that works. That's
All
my
right.
nickname.
So how has it been working with Nintendo, so far, as far as bringing your games over to the Wii U console?
They're incredibly supportive, I think. They're just about bending over backwards to make it possible for us to do what we want and offering us opportunities and trying to like. I think there's a fire alarm in the background. Hopefully that's not my building. And they're really, really good. Get us the hardware really quickly. We've got the software licenses sorted out. They're talking about like if we figure out our release date, they can try and tell us when a good time would be so that we're not clashing with other games and get us front page space on the eShop, all that kind of stuff. They're really great. I think it's going to be a lot harder to get that kind of like mind share on other platforms. Actually, like on PC, on Steam, you can't even get on the front page of Steam as an indie at the moment unless you're insanely popular. So I like working with Nintendo.
I just had that experience myself, as a matter of fact. It's a dog pile to try and get on the front page of Steam. It's a nightmare.
Well,
But so far, I've had the same experience with Nintendo.
well, that's good. Because I did see what was your nickname again? That I was gonna call you.
Not.
Not. I did see your game on the upcoming eShop titles on the Wii U eShop. You know, I guess it was a couple weeks ago. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's pretty badass. Mike, you know, you've released a game. You have one currently in development, and some other, or you actually have two currently in development. Both the Super Robo Mouse, which I'm very hyped about, and your upcoming casino variety game. How has your experiences been so far?
They've been awesome, and I actually just finished up some of my experience with Nintendo of Europe as well, and they have just been fantastic. Like I struggle with a lot of some of the paperwork in Europe because there's so many countries and there's so many different languages and so many different currencies, and they've just been fantastic. Like when I submitted my initial paperwork, I missed a lot of it, and they were very kind to walk me through step by step, figuring out exactly what I had to do for each for each category, and they did some of it for me, and they've been excellent, and securing a date for the 26th of June now in countries that support a PEGI rating system, which is everywhere except for Australia, New Zealand, and Germany. But yeah, Nintendo just in general has been fantastic. Like Nintendo of America now that I have one game out, they're anytime I submit information for a new game, they're super quick to respond to me, which is awesome because I'm pretty sure that Poker Dice Solitaire Future, my next game, is actually going to release a little bit ahead of schedule now because it's already in testing on Nintendo, which is great news. So I might be able to get that out a little bit earlier than I anticipated. So I mean, I'm gonna keep them busy, and I have 4 more titles releasing this year. So I'm staying busy. They're staying busy. I'm trying to make the most of what I've invested into the platform so far. So yeah. So I have nothing but positive things to say about them. So.
I really like the way they. It seems like they've dealt with a lot of people who haven't put games on consoles like by themselves before. I've worked at a big company, but in a big company, you don't handle everything. You handle just your little bit. But working with Nintendo, they, walk me through the process of how to get the rating stuff done and like their insider tips, like you were saying, to get all of them rated at once and everything like that. And I think it's even cheaper if you go through them than if you were to like approach all the different ratings boards yourself, because Nintendo have direct lines to figuring all that stuff out. And that stuff's not like small either. I think just getting one game rated on one platform in Australia, if you were to go and do it yourself through the standard method, is like a couple $1,000s. So, sorting that stuff out, and that could take months.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how idiot-proof the whole process is. And also, like, extremely well documented. I've been using Unity, and I'm surprised. Like, I've heard nothing but kind of negativity about, rumors about people talking about, the Unity integration's kind of sloppy and this, that, and the other thing. But I found the opposite. I found that it was actually surprisingly clean. Everything's extraordinarily well documented and approachable, like very approachable for indies like me that don't have a lot of experience publishing on the Wii U.
Yeah, Unity is actually really far along on the Wii U. I think it's been much further along there than on any of the other current platforms, just because it's been out the longest. Sorry?
What are you developing in?
I'm developing in Unity.
Are you developing in Unity or your own?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Now, another thing is, I know Mike, you tweeted, that you've had some success financially on the with the with Block Drop U, you've already gotten what 70% of the lifetime sales that you were expecting on it.
Yeah, it's right around 65-70% of what I had expected. And honestly, that number I just kind of pulled out of my ass because I had nothing to base it on. So it's just kind of like, okay, this is what I hope I can make from it, and if I can make that, that's great. But I honestly like really didn't have any expectations because I don't have any game experience whatsoever. Like I never worked for a game company. I never developed games before. Like it was just something, um, just kind of when they announced the Nintendo Web Framework at GDC 13, and I was like, oh, I've made websites before. How hard can it be, right? So, I put my information in, and then in September they gave me a call, and I was among like one of the first 30, 40 people into the program. So it helped to get that head start. I think that kind of helped sales too, because everyone is kind of curious about like, okay, so what's a web game like on the Wii U, and how's this going to perform and stuff like that. So I think that's helped sales, and hopefully the momentum of that will carry on to my other titles that are coming out this year. Even though there's a lot more competition on the eShop now, it just seems like every week now we have a couple releases, and it never used to be like that. When I launched, I had the whole week to myself. So so we'll see. But my games are cheap enough that you can use your leftover eShop money to buy my stuff. So
They're also surprisingly addictive, especially Block Drop U. Do you have any plans on actually making a sequel or more levels for that game?
well, yeah, I did announce, from the get-go, I kind of said, when people were kind of complaining about how short it was, that I was going to make 50 additional levels. And I still intend to make those. They're just going to take a little bit longer than I expected, but I'm hoping to have them out this year. But they're gonna be based on the crossover that I'm doing with Christopher over at Ping 1.5 Plus with his game. So those 50 additional levels will be themed around his title that's coming out for the Wii U. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. So I'm excited, but I'll also be excited to kind of put Block Drop behind me for the time being, to kind of move on to new things. So, but
Hey, Mike, what was your price point on that, if you don't mind saying?
it's $1.99.
Oh wow, very low.
$1.99 in U.S., Canada. For Shawn has something.
Oh no, I gotta go smoke a cigarette. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Enjoy.
I didn't know what he was doing. I was a little nervous there. And then in Europe, it's going to be, and I kind of miscalculated this a bit. So for those who are in Europe, you're welcome. But it's going to be $1.29 in British pounds, or
Wow.
$1.49 in euros. I didn't quite, I didn't
Really
factor in tax with that. I wasn't aware that I was responsible for paying the tax. So yeah, I kind of cut myself short with that a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see if it
That's
sells well.
cheaper than the double cheeseburger from McDonald's.
Right. So if it sells extremely well, then hey, I'll just leave it at that price. We'll see. So
Yeah, well, good
So
luck.
like
I'll be
a
buying it. Thank you.
app store approach,
Yeah.
right?
I'm definitely hoping it sells well enough to pay for the ratings. The ratings boards in Europe are just highway robbery. So
It's ridiculous.
and especially since like the ESRB, like for my new game that I have in testing right now, it literally took me 5 minutes to get the game rated on ESRB. I logged on, told them about my game, boom, I got a rating. Like, why can it not be that easy?
I think there's a group of people working towards a global rating system at the moment, but from what I was reading, they're talking like, next year kind of thing potentially. Which would be awesome if you just had that kind of capabilities to work through one body and get ratings, even if you have separate ratings for different countries and different areas, right? Like, It's just
I went.
so annoying having to go through so many different places.
Yeah, definitely. And then like the issue that the whole reason why I'm only launching in PEGI territories right now is because I sent my submission materials into the USK and I never heard back from them. I emailed them and a ton of times and they never responded. And then finally they responded and they were like, "Oh, we have no record of your submission."
Oh my god.
So then I was away, in San Diego for work for a week, and I come home, and there's a letter from the USK, sitting in the mailbox, and it's an invoice to pay for the rating that they said that they never got. And I think the whole reason why they couldn't find it is because they misspelled my company name. So yeah, so now like it's just sitting there, and I haven't paid it yet, to be honest with you, because I'm just gonna kind of take a wait and see approach and see how well it does first before investing that money into it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's a $2 game, you know what I mean? So it's you kind of have to think of it like, okay, well, how many units do I have to sell just to break even? And so that's why I want to kind of do a wait and see and take a look and see how the launch goes. So
Good luck.
thank you, man. I appreciate it, definitely. And that's the whole rating system is another reason why these three like casino type games that I have coming out this summer for North America, they won't be released individually in Europe. They're actually going to be bundled together. That way, I only have to get one rating and do one submission. It just kind of makes things easier.
Very clever.
Yeah. And my screen just went black. I don't know if you guys can still see me.
Yeah, it's working.
Okay.
Probably screensaver.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was too, but it's not. It's not coming back on. Oh, there we go. All right.
So back on the E3 topic again, I think the things that I want to see the most at the conference, I want to see Nintendo making Nintendo-style games in glorious kind of nice high-quality 3D, because it's been, like, I don't know about everybody else, but I actually think Nintendo's output on the Wii U just looks incredible so far. Like Mario 3D World and Mario Kart, even the remake for Wind Waker, they're just so gorgeous. So I want to see just traditional Nintendo games, more of them, in nice, high-quality, modern graphics, and then I want to see some crazy stuff that does things on the gamepad we are not expecting. And I'm hoping Zelda is the game that does both of those things.
Totally. It's weird earlier, they tweeted that Miyamoto has several projects to show. What? Several?
Excellent.
Well, he's the overseer for like a lot of the teams, isn't he?
Yeah, I suppose it could be that, couldn't it? That would be the most likely.
You know what though? I wonder if does he have any relatives that work for Nintendo? Because I was sitting there the other day, and I was watching the credits roll for Mario Kart 8, and I noticed there was another person with the last name of Miyamoto. I don't know if that's a common name in Japan. I don't think it is, but so I don't know if he has children or if he has.
He does have children, but I thought they were still reasonably young, like maybe just in uni kind of age.
Maybe they helped out the side projects.
Well, why would you go to university if you could work for Nintendo? I mean, that if my dad
Cultural thing, I think.
if my dad was Miyamoto, he would have me. I would be in working on Mario right now.
All right, so we have a couple questions.
Welcome
Jason, did you do a question while I was outside?
Nope, I was about to shoot one, but you're back, so take over.
Okay, we have a funny one that I kind of like. If you had to decide between becoming a famous game designer or playing video games for free forever, which would you choose? Disclaimer, the famous game designer comes with an opera-singing monkey. I'd probably play video games for free forever because monkeys, they crap a lot and you have to feed them and stuff. So it would almost be, you have to watch the monkey so much that when would you have time to, design the games? Because a monkey is kind of like a pet. It's almost like a pet baby. Like it's kind of crazy. So I couldn't mess with it.
Am I allowed to kill the monkey?
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
If
You
yes,
could
then
kill the,
definitely
why
the
would you
game's
kill the monkey?
banned.
Come
Oh,
on,
God,
man.
I'll deal with a monkey. I'll deal with PETA if I have to.
No.
But the monkey's got to die.
No. I think there's a pretty big difference between making games and playing games. So if you truly, really, really love just playing games, I think people should pick that one. But personally, I like making games, so I would go the other way.
Completely. Making games is much more fulfilling.
I'm gonna say both.
Both.
Oh.
Screw the rules.
All right, Jason, if you want to divvy up one of the questions from the chat room that I did not was going, or that I didn't know was going on until like 15 minutes ago, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, sure. I'll start from the more recent ones, and you can go with the older ones. I got one here about the Nintendo figure platform. I don't know how much you guys know about it, but is this something that could be utilized for indie devs, or are you guys about as much in the dark as we are on that?
I'm completely in the dark.
Oh, what's it? Sorry, what's it called?
So the Nintendo figure platform that was briefly mentioned, I think like a month ago.
Oh, the NFC stuff, right?
Yeah. Now, is that a platform that could be accessible to indie developers?
I like the thing about it is like, how would you access it? Because isn't it reliant on selling physical goods, kind of thing?
Yes, I guess there would be two things. Could an indie developer make their own NFC figure, or could they use Nintendo-based ones?
I guess if you were Minecraft, they're technically
Right,
like an indie developer with a big enough following to make it work.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I think the NFC reader, I think it's proprietary, so I don't know that you can. I don't know that you can just go out and order up NFC chips and start making your own figures. I mean, I didn't really go into the whole technical aspect of it yet, because I'm like I said, I'm new and I'm just trying to like ease myself into new features as I go. But I'm pretty sure that it's proprietary and it's not off-the-shelf NFC. So.
In my opinion, when you're an indie, the number one question you have to deal with is scope. You have to figure out what you want to do and kind of stay within it and figure out what the core of your project is and make it work. So if this is part of that and this makes it better, then yes, but otherwise it's probably not. I would probably want to stay away from it.
Yeah, scope is killer. I'm currently like 6 months behind where I would have liked to have been with my game. So
it's hard to cut when you get started, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just there's so much that goes into it, I suppose. I think as well, like a lot of people don't understand how much when you're doing everything, there's just stuff that takes time that you don't even think about.
Right.
Even the act of like responding to emails can take up out of your 12-month dev cycle. You might spend like several weeks on just emailing people and writing stuff. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Would you
And
say
some
that's
of
the
the
most...
stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to just add to that some of the stuff that requires iteration always creeps up on me. I mean, I'm working on another trailer right now, and I've already done one iteration, and there's problems, so I'm working on the second, and I'm hoping I can cap it off at 2 without having to go to 3.
Good luck.
Why, thank you.
I was going to say, so was the emailing, it says emailing was very time consuming. Is there anything else that we wouldn't think about that is very time consuming in game development? You guys can point out.
Anything and everything. Setting up a business, doing your taxes, figuring out how to operate a company and pay dividends. All the stuff that like that stuff also can take weeks of reading and understanding and talking to people.
Yeah, you're going all out. So do you have employees over there or what? What's going on?
Sorry? No. Well, there's 3 of us on the team, and we all have like that's it for the whole game, and we all have shares in the company. So we like to pay ourselves money so that we can eat and pay our rent. We have to figure out all that stuff.
Oh, amazing! I did that a year or 2 ago with a few other guys, so I have a sense of how hard it is. But one of the other guys dealt with most of it. I'm really lucky right now. I'm doing most of the development from my apartment here with my girlfriend. So, I mean, I have a little bit of help to deal with the audio, and I got a writer as well, but we're keeping everything like very clean. In fact, we don't even have a corporation right now. It's just basically a series of contracts, right?
Yeah, that can work too. Yeah,
Anything to
it's
avoid
like
all the extra time, you know?
this stuff just piles up on you. You don't think
It
about it.
does.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, that's a sidetrack. Get back to what your
Yes.
questions and answers.
Oh, no, that's cool, man. That's what we're here to do. Just talk about random stuff because I'm getting some random questions, such as, why is your name Mike? Mike.
let me guess. Bradley sent that into you. I don't know. It's just that's the name my parents gave me. I really don't know how to answer that. The guy who actually sent that to you is the guy that does that's on me verse videos. I don't know if you've ever seen them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Bradley. He's from Bradley Pixel or Gaming Pixel something. Sorry, I messed it up, Bradley. But really cool guy. Really funny videos. If you guys ever get a chance to kind of check them out. But yeah, he's just being stupid asking me that question. So
I thought it was a good question.
yeah, very good question.
All right. How about streaming live TV to the Nintendo gamepad is another question. I think that would be pretty cool. I don't really think it's outside the realm of possibility either. Um, I guess a developer would know more so than I would how easy that would be to do. But I mean, it's cool. The one thing I love about the gamepad is like me and my homie, my housemate can just be chilling, downstairs, and if like there's a game on, like if we're watching the finals, the NBA finals or something, like we could watch that, and I could sit there and play, either a Wii U game or even a Wii game, right there in my hand. So it would be kind of cool if it could reverse to it, but I don't know the logistics really behind that. Maybe one of you guys would know a little better than I would how feasible that would be.
Should be possible, I think.
So reverse what? I'm confused.
Basically, you have you have live TV on the gamepad. You're streaming it from your cable. Because I mean,
Oh, right.
really, I mean, when you set up Nintendo TV, I mean, that's set up through your cable provider, so it knows what to do, what channel it's on. It can sync easily to what if you wanted to watch it live and then play. Because I know the only times I've really used Nintendo TV is during either a basketball, like a sporting game, or if I'm watching some wrestling, sometimes I'll do that, and it seems to work well in those situations. So it would be kind of neat if you could just, obviously there's some sort of interaction between your cable provider and Nintendo TV. I think that would be a cool, just another added feature that it probably wouldn't sell systems, but it would make people pay attention to it, because really the Wii U is pretty good at controlling. I could just flip back and forth between the gamepad or watching something on TV, and I don't even need to use my remote. I can just control the cable box from the gamepad. So I think that, and that also, this question actually brings in another question I have is, what kind of apps would you like to see? Do you want to see apps on the Wii U, or do you think it's Mike? Mike says no. Mike, why don't you want apps?
I think no. There's so many devices out there that can give us Netflix and can give us all this other stuff, and I honestly think they should just focus on what they do best and quit wasting their resources doing this extra stuff. Like, I mean, Nintendo TV was a cool idea, but they only really marketed it like for 6 months, and then it kind of dropped off. Like, and think of all the time that was kind of dedicated to getting that together and everything like that they could have spent making games that generate revenue. Nintendo TV is not going to generate revenue. Putting the basketball game onto your gamepad versus your television is not going to generate revenue. So I don't know. I have a real problem. Like, I buy a Nintendo console to play games on it. I have an Xbox or a PlayStation to play my movies and stuff on. I understand that not everyone's fortunate enough to have the ability to purchase two systems, and maybe that's why they do that. Um, but at the same time, we kind of all got smartphones now. We all have, Google has their Chrome TV thing, which is $35, which is cheaper than any other thing out there. So there's so many different options out there now that I think that they should kind of focus on what they do best, which is gaming. So.
I agree. And I have
Yeah,
nothing
that
to add.
makes sense. Although it's like a lot of those apps are not made by Nintendo anyway, aren't they? Made by like Netflix and Amazon and them themselves. So I don't see why they can't just keep pumping those out and just leave Nintendo to focus on what they focus on best. I like having
Well,
Netflix available on things.
I actually contacted, because they have that the WWE, I don't even know what the hell it's called, but they have their sort of service where I think it translates to like $10 a month, and you get to watch like all their pay-per-views and the big backlog of stuff. And I like old wrestling stuff. I grew up, pizza, video games, wrestling. Not really much has changed. 'Cause I'm a big kid, but like I was interested in that for the Wii U, and so I actually hit up their PR department, and they didn't have any plans for it. Which I don't know. It seems kind of weird. Like, like why wouldn't you want? Let's say the Wii U is at 7 million right now, whereas why wouldn't you at least attempt to reach out to those 7 million and put the app? Because they said it was their decision. That wasn't a Nintendo thing. So, I mean, why not even just try it? I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it goes a little bit deeper than them not wanting to do. I mean, they're for all we know, there could be some kind of weird contract with Sony or Microsoft that says don't put it on Nintendo consoles. I mean, we really don't know what the underlying reason is for it. Or it could be something with the cable companies that I don't know. I mean, anytime you sign a contract with anyone, it's extremely specific, and there's always reasons why people want to exclude something, and I don't know. To them, maybe 7 million's not anything to really laugh at. I don't know.
Well, the funny thing is that I know we're getting very off topic here, but the company WWE actually lost a bunch of money because they had told their shareholders that they were going to have 1 million subscribers to their service before, I forget what the date was, but they only had like 400,000, and their stocks just went down the shitter or the crapper, sorry. And like they really caught a lot of flack for that. So I mean, even then, it's kind of like, well, why wouldn't you at least try? All right, we have a normal question here. I guess this one only applies to Mike because Mike is the only person right now that's just doing exclusively Nintendo. But I guess we can ask everyone. What made you choose a Nintendo platform over Sony or Microsoft?
Well, that's an easy question because they're the only ones that they're the only ones that gave me a chance to. Sony. I mean, Sony's pretty open to indies as well. I mean, I'm sure the other guys could kind of briefly talk about that, but I haven't. Before recently, I wasn't incorporated, so that was one of the requirements that Sony has put in place. So you have to be incorporated to sign into the indie program. So, yeah, for the time being, I'm Nintendo exclusive, but that's just for the time being, unless I can make millions of dollars on the eShop, or we'll see. But yeah, I mean, it's something that I just honestly I haven't really looked into Sony too much. Microsoft, I won't really comment too much about that due to some reasons beyond my control. But yeah, it's just because Nintendo gave me the chance. They were open arms. They were like, "Oh, you didn't make any games? Oh, we don't care. Here's your opportunity to kind of learn the process." I mean, if you kind of think back to years ago when gaming gaming was pushed out, and, you know, you really didn't have the opportunity too much, other than working for a big company. So everybody has to start somewhere, and I kind of think that they realize that. So that's at least my reason for going Nintendo exclusive right now.
On that point, is there any like quality control on Nintendo's part? Like, you remember that was a big thing when Nintendo started 20 years ago, was the seal of quality. So you're saying it sounds like it's easy to get on board in the indie program, but is there still that stringent Nintendo quality assurance on their games? Would you say it's still there?
Well, I mean, they don't tell you what you can't publish. But I will tell you that after being through the process a couple times, that the run-of-the-mill, iOS app developers that put this crap software out on phones, they're going to have a hard time probably getting through the submission process. There's a lot more to it than just clicking a button and boom, your game is up on the eShop. I mean, they literally sit there and go through your game, and they have guidelines you have to go by, and there's all kinds of rules put in place, not to make it hard on you, but I guess to kind of, so at the end of the day, you're not like, oh, well, if I have to go through all of that work just to put this crap game on, it's not worth it to me. You know what I mean? They want to make sure that, if you're going to go through the process, then you're going to put something that's halfway decent. So.
Yeah, the various console guys do that as well. Like, I think it's common across the three of them to make sure that like all the games have that same level of polished interaction with the system itself, and there's no issues, right?
Yeah. So I mean, whether or not, do I want them to instill some kind of limitation on how many titles you can publish a year? No, I'm not. I don't want them to do that. But do I think that they should probably come up with some kind of other system to control the quality? Yes, I do. And I guess that's about all I'll say about that. I do think that they should, and I honestly don't know what they could do to kind of control it, other than just saying, hey, you can't publish this because we don't like it. But then how is that? How is that really any fair? Because Block Drop U, some of the reviews have been pretty bad, and I kind of expected that going in. But if you look on Miiverse, 95% of people on Miiverse, they love it. So how are you how is one small group of people going to dictate what the mass market might like? So I don't know. It's a tricky subject.
And I also think, that, oh God, I lost my train of thought. But I mean, Block Drop U, that's not really a game that's easy to review, just because it's not. I mean, it's not it's for what it is. It's fantastic, but I mean, it's not going to be like your AAA RPG experience. But I mean, for $2, like you can't go wrong. Like a $2, like think of what you spend $2 on, like, and think, well, I could buy a video game for $2. Like, maybe people that use their phones for gaming and stuff, that's kind of a normal place. But for someone like me, who I'm strictly consoles. I'm not gaming on my phone. That's kind of lame to me. But like that's crazy to me. And I mean, for what it was, I thought Block Drop U was a lot of fun. And then the update that you did that came out on it was even like it made it more aesthetically pleasing. The graphics were better, the sounds were better. So I mean, I guess it really just depends, on something like Block Drop U can be successful through things like Miiverse and through Nintendo, whereas I think maybe on the bigger systems it would be overlooked. And plus, you're also taking out, the whole touchscreen thing, which was pretty essential to the game. So, I'm very glad to see it that you've been doing well with it.
Yeah, it's honestly another reason why, like, at least for the time being, that I'm only going to be on Nintendo is because, I grew up with Nintendo. Like, my style of game is geared towards Nintendo consoles. Like, I honestly couldn't, like, with the exception of maybe one or two titles that I have like ideas for next year. I just don't know how well they would work on other consoles. So I mean, the great demographic about Nintendo is that families have Nintendo systems, and I get comments all the time on Miiverse about how, wasn't really my cup of tea, but my wife loves it and she won't put it down, or my kids like it, because for whatever reason. It's nice to see little things like that, and then versus some of the comments that you get like, oh, I got this for free on my iPhone. Like, okay, it's great for you. The iPhone is not even comparable to the Wii U in terms of gaming. So, um, yeah, yeah.
I just had a question. That was going to be a good question, and now I can't remember it. Um,
Sorry, man.
no, it's fine. It's fine. It just flew out of my mind. We got some new people joining the chat room and watching us, so maybe they'll be able to bail me out here. But I want to talk about the fall first.
Boy.
That when I saw that game for the first time, I was very, very interested in it. How would you give me like a brief, 30, 45-second synopsis of what the fall is about for, because some people in here may not, be familiar with that
Cool, thank you. Well, yeah. So, the Fall is a sort of a mix between Metroid and Monkey Island, I guess. In a way, it kind of takes like this exploration, kind of 2D world exploring aspect of Metroid, and merges it with a little bit of the interactivity of some of the old school adventure games. In it, you basically play as an AI on board a futuristic combat suit, who's trying to save the life of the suit's human occupant, who's kind of hanging unconscious inside the suit. So the AI is activated, and it's kind of like, oh, this guy's unconscious. There's something wrong. She needs to take control of the suit and kind of carry him towards help. And she's like very restricted by her rules and regulation and her own sense of purpose. And the main goal of the project is kind of this to blend, like narrative, like storytelling with gameplay. So a lot of the puzzles and obstacles that she encounters have to do with rigidity and with being put in a situation where there's this expected outcome, but the situation isn't really fair. So players have to think in this way that's kind of contrary to the rules, and then we try and build a story around that as well. So it's really kind of about having some fun with storytelling, having a really super dark atmosphere, and some really interesting puzzle gameplay, hopefully.
Cool. And then I guess it would be fair for us to ask about Super Android Cactus. So if you could give a description of that for those who aren't familiar with it or whatnot.
No, that's okay. His description was awesome enough for all games forever.
Thank you.
It was pretty cool. I'm actually gonna check that out later, I think.
Oh, right on.
My game, we should key trade actually. I'll send you copies of mine and you can send me copies of yours, and then we won't both starve.
Cool, man. Yeah, send me an email and we'll do that.
My game is Assault Indra Cactus. It's a twin-stick shoot-'em-up, kind of East meets West, bullet hell inspirations, and traditional twin-stick freedom of movement. It's focused on creating really, really fast, frenetic, high-paced action with overwhelming amount of things happening on screen. And we've added some extra elements that we think spice up the usual twin-stick formula with dynamic arenas that are changing and shifting as you play through them. And wonderful players, so up to 4-player co-op. I think one of the big things that we do differently to traditional Western games is we've adopted the shoot 'em up style of characterization, where you have a bunch of characters and they all have a unique set of weapons that give them a totally distinct play style. So you're picking between machine gun and flamethrower combination, or something a little bit more exotic like railgun and propeller mines. Just totally changes the way you approach the game.
And it's gorgeous as well.
Yeah, you got that part, dude. That game looks so sick. That game looks
Thank you.
If you had to compare it to something, if you had to compare it to a more mainstream game, what would you kind of categorize it with?
I think the last game that was made that I think it's kind of feels similar to, I don't know. There's no single specific game for me. It's really about that late '90s, early 2000 era of arcade games where everything was blue skies, colorful, over the top, super smooth, 60 frames per second kind of twitchy gameplay. It's all of those. That era is my favorite era of games, and that's what Cactus is all about.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of us in here are, we're obviously not the youngest gamers out there, so I think that'll appeal definitely to all of us. I'm very hyped about that game. We do have another question from Enrique Timms. The fall looks cool. I don't remember seeing it on Indie Corner. Jason, then again, there were a lot of games. How much will it be on the eShop? Do you have a price point for the fall picked out yet, or?
Yeah. So I think that we're probably going to do a $9.99 kind of situation. And
Cool.
for that price, the game, we're looking at about 3 to 4 hours of solid gameplay. Some people go up to 6, but yeah, 3 to 4 hours is kind of the sweet spot, it seems.
That's cool.
And we're also doing when we started our Kickstarter, we were talking about episodic. We've kind of changed the branding a little bit. We're calling it a trilogy now, and the reason is that episodic games kind of leave the player hanging halfway through, where the story's incomplete, and we want to give players like a solid story experience that actually concludes and leaves them feeling satisfied, while also having stuff open and asking questions, of course, for later.
Do you have any? Did you say you had a tentative release date for that one for the fall?
No, unfortunately not yet. I mean, it's done. It's on Steam currently, but the game is running fantastic on the Wii U. It's just about ready to be shipped off to Nintendo. I just kind of have to email them, ask them 1 or 2 questions, and then start the submission process. So these other guys would probably be able to give you a more exact idea than I would at this point.
Wait, so when are you going to submit it to Nintendo?
Hopefully soon. I'm really hoping in the coming week.
Okay. Well, my best guess is if you get through the first time, probably August.
August, wow.
Beginning of August.
Interesting.
Thank you.
I would bet on almost, if it's the first time you ever submitted for console, bet that the first time is not going to be the last build you send them.
No.
Right, yeah, I imagine. Well, thankfully we had our Steam release to we did some bug fixing beforehand, but the Steam release has brought up some bugs, so we were able to fix them. So the build is getting more and more solid every day. We're kind of going through an early beta testing right now,
Yeah.
But I'm sure they'll have, other issues with it as well, so.
Well, I know.
Sorry.
No, I know. In the last hangout, I don't know if we were on the air during that or off the air, but Mike, you were saying how it has to be, you really got to cross your T's and dot your I's, down to the littlest things, when going through the approval process.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's. I have to be careful how
I know.
But,
I was about to say doing it.
there are some things that can be.
Sorry.
There are some things that can be fixed easily with an email. And then there are some things that are literally embedded in your program that cannot be fixed unless you send them your program all over again. So, and I'm assuming you're part of the Nintendo developers community.
Oh yeah, sure.
I mean, I'm sure you see me on there. I think I post more than the moderators do. So I mean, if you have any questions or need anything answered, just go ahead and send me a message, and I'll be able to better explain it to you than I can live here to the public. So, but
that's a really great offer. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, they actually. It's funny. They actually say that most people don't pass their first time around.
Right.
Just because especially if you're new to console development, just because there's always something tiny that you missed, and I've done it twice for the original version of Block Drop U, once for the remaster, and so I've done it 3 times now. And when I just went to go submit the poker dice game, it literally took me 15 minutes. because I've done it so many times now that it's just become second nature. Now, the first time you do it, though, it's a little confusing. But they're there. They'll answer you questions. I kind of had them on speed email back and forth a bunch of times, and they were awesome. Yeah, I mean, they honestly they will bend over backwards to make sure that you get your title out there, and they're just I don't know any other way to explain it other than that Nintendo's awesome. So.
Wow, well, that's good to hear. Thank you. Words of encouragement, man.
Yep.
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, they've been fantastic responding to emails so far, so I would imagine that it would probably continue. I would hope, anyway.
Yeah, and if you don't get a response right away, just realize that there's literally hundreds, hundreds of people that are probably sending in emails at the same time. So I know sometimes at the beginning of the week it could take a while, but yeah, they usually get back to you really quick.
We have a special guest in the chat room, the legendary indie gamer chick, who gives Mike a thumbs up.
All right, she's awesome. She's awesome, man.
Yeah, we sent a little request to her. We had another question from Enrique again. He wanted same question for the Cactus game about the price. It also looks sweet, and an approximate length that you're shooting for.
I like a length to play through the game. So price-wise, it's going to be $15 everywhere, so 15 US and whatever that translates to in other currencies. We've tried to keep it as consistent as possible, although you've got to account for different regions, have taxes and stuff on top of that. And length-wise, shooting for the first time somebody plays through from start to finish, just through the campaign mode with one character, maybe 3 hours kind of thing. It's really hard to say because you could die a lot, but that's about what I'm expecting it'll take people just powering through. But then you've got like the point of the game is to have a lot of replayability. Like an arcade game, it's designed to be played endlessly with leaderboards and additional game modes, unlocks. We've got a set of EX options and 8 playable characters, not just one, and they're co-op, all that kind of stuff. So it's really it's shifting based on if you really like that kind of game. I think you can play it a lot. We've got people on the Steam version early access who've logged 60 plus hours, so you can keep playing it.
Are you doing any sort of online stuff with the game, online leaderboards or anything, or?
Yep, it's got online leaderboards, and for the Wii version, we're going to be doing Miiverse integration as well, which should be cool for the different levels when you play them. We want to have it pop up the information for if you beat a level, give you the option to comment on it, and then show relevant comments based on some criteria we're still working out. So no online play, but leaderboards and other stuff like that.
Well, that's a good package right there.
Yeah, the Miiverse is awesome. Not enough people talk about the Miiverse. I think if the Miiverse was on a console with if it hadn't been struggling a little bit like the Wii U has been, people would be talking about it as if it was this is the future. Because the way it centralizes discussion, it's like a video game forum for acts, events that happen in a video game itself.
Right.
You read a game forum and you'll find a thread on the game that you've been playing and try and find information that's relevant to you. And it's this endless slog of trying to talk to other people, and it's nice. But in the Miiverse, it's all centralized around a level or an action or something. At least the way they use it in Mario is just amazing.
Yeah, and what's funny is when I first got the Wii U, which I got at launch day, I didn't really use Miiverse, and then just kind of as time went on, I started using more and more, and now it's addictive. I mean, you even got indie dev beefs going on there. It's crazy. It's its own little world inside of the Wii U. It's just really cool. We have another question from this one is from Indie Gamer Chick. If you could change one thing about the development tools for the Wii U that you have access to, what would they be?
Good question.
I guess say as much or as little as you can.
pretty solid, actually.
Yeah.
I'm having to really think here. Maybe a hotline to Indie Gamer Chick to get her to review my game, because that'd be awesome.
That's a good question. I don't want to answer that though.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Well, I mean, there's always room for improvement, and like the little things that I would have to say about the tools, like no one would really understand what I was talking about anyways, because you're not gonna understand unless you've used them. Um, but yeah, it's just little minor things of like it does everything I want it to do. It's just that there's ways that I could see that they could improve it. What's really great about Nintendo is like everyone that I've talked to at Nintendo is so open for feedback, and they are so you know they're open to the possibility of improving things all the time, and they constantly are improving things. So even though the Wii is now going to be coming up to its third holiday season, like the way I look at it is the tools have only just started beginning to open up to us. I mean, it can only get better from here, and it's kind of sad to think about it being the third holiday season already for Wii U, but hopefully we can squeeze about 5 or 6 years out of the Wii U before something new comes along, because there's so much more we could be doing. So and I think there's ways that they can make it easier, and the few of us that have published games, we've been more than forthcoming with our feedback, and Nintendo has had phone conversations with us about it. They're always getting in contact with us, like, okay, so what works, what doesn't work, what do you want to see us do, different things like that. Um, so overall, I'm pleased. Like I said, there's just little tiny things that I can't say, and nobody would understand anyways. But you know, overall, big gamer check approved for Nintendo DevTools right here. So
One thing I can actually probably say is that there are one or two little instances where I actually thought that sometimes there was too much documentation.
Yeah.
Not that there's too
Yeah.
much, but
Yeah.
it can almost be a bit labyrinthian. You've had the same experience, eh?
Yeah, it's like they go like sometimes I'll literally have to reread over something like
Yes.
6 or 7 times to be like, oh, well, that's what they meant. Like, so why
Right.
didn't you just say this instead of saying this? And
Yeah.
maybe a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're used to dealing um, with bigger companies where they have people dedicated to the documentation. I don't know, but I have seen it evolve over time to where it is easier to understand now. So I don't know how recently you got into the program, but when I first started in September when it opened up, it was completely different than it is right now. So I mean, in just that short amount of time, they have done so much to improve the program that I can't even imagine what it's going to be like in a couple years. So
Mhm. Yeah, I get a kick that some of the documentation almost reads like a legal contract.
yeah,
Like it's very specific and very precise. And they don't say, don't do this or do this. They say you have to do some of this in certain circumstances and yada yada yada.
yeah. There's a big gray area, and that's something I'll actually talk to you about through the forums, because there's some things you could do to actually prepare yourself the first time you go into lot check. But
I think, sorry, just to butt in, but I was just going to say, you guys might actually be on separate systems for the dev stuff if you've got the forums, which is actually something I was going to bring up that they could do better is combine everything. If you're on like web framework versus Unity and things like that.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I definitely haven't seen you post, and I think, well, unless I just haven't been paying attention. I think the reason is, yeah, I'm obviously over on the Unity side of things.
Oh, that does kind of suck.
yeah,
But,
so
well,
we've got-
yeah, it depends if you I don't know if I can say the name of it.
yeah,
Well,
it's all kind of complex. Probably something best left to like not cover, I
Alright,
guess.
play it safe.
All right, I think Jason has a question from one of our viewers. Jason, go ahead.
Yes, I got a question here from Derek Prim asking, do indie devs bounce ideas off of each other often when putting together a game or look for collaboration often?
I guess Mike would be the easy person to talk to about that.
Yeah, collaborations. I've announced the collaboration with Ping 1.5 Plus already, and that's actually a funny story how that became a thing. I was reading a story on a competitor's website. I won't say who.
Oh, I think we're friends with them. We're friends.
Okay. It was with playeressence.com, and they wrote a story about Ping 1.5 Plus, and they had said in the story that I was the developer of the game. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I guess I have this game coming out that I know nothing about, right? So I did some more research, and then I met Chris, and me and Chris got to joking around and stuff like that about doing. Uh, Somebody had made the comment about you know, combining the two games together, and then one day I was like, actually, that's not a bad idea, because that would actually be a pretty good idea for me to do for the add-on content. He was like, yeah, I'm cool with it. So I sent him a bunch of assets from my game. He's been sending me a couple from his, and yeah, that's kind of like how that came along. It was a funny story, but yeah, I think indies are more inclined to collaborate with each other because they don't have as many restrictions on their IP as say Nintendo does. Like I don't know that an indie developer will ever be able to feature Nintendo content in their game simply because they try so hard to protect it from oversaturation. So they don't, if they give one indie dev the ability to put, say, a Zelda-themed world in their game, then it's kind of hard for them to say no to everybody else. So I think they've kind of, when it comes to a big company like that, they've kind of drew the line with, only working with Japanese publishers, developers, or whatever the situation may be.
That's a good decision.
But yeah, I do. At the end of the day, like it's a little disappointing to be like, oh no, I got all these ideas for these Mario levels in Block Drop, but then at the end of the day, you're like, okay, I get it. They don't want me ruining their experience, and by all means, I probably would mess up. So I definitely don't want to do that to their reputation, and I don't want their characters and everything. So at the end of the day, it makes sense. So.
Have either of you other guys thought about? I mean, obviously you're still crafting the game for the Wii U, but have you thought about any sort of cross promotion or anything? Even not maybe not necessarily using characters from other games, but there was that time not too long ago where a couple indie devs got together and did sales on their stuff, and like if you bought one thing, you got a discount on another. So, any of those thoughts came through your mind or anything, or?
I'm not opposed to any of it. I think it's a great idea. I mean, there's a bit of a business challenge because when you talk about cross promotion in terms of sales, then you gotta know you're partnering with the right person and whether there's like overlap for your markets and how much traffic I can provide him versus how much traffic he can provide me and making sure it's a good fit and all that kind of stuff, which is stuff I don't have a lot of experience with and like crunching those kind of numbers, I guess. Um, and also, I mean, unfortunately for the fall, it's such a narrative-driven game that I kind of need to be a little bit of a Nazi on in terms of the in-game content. There's very little room for there's very little wiggle room in terms of what content I can add that's kind of superfluous. You know what I mean?
Right.
As
And
far as
go ahead.
as far as straight up like sorry, what was the word? Working together basically with other indies. I found that that's something that's extremely imperative. Like the fall has come a long way in terms of having its gameplay stuff iterated, and the reason was that I had other developers come over and look at the game. Like my scope is just too small to do that myself, so getting creative input early was like, yeah, it was like a completely changed everything.
I think we look for support and we look for feedback more than direct, like including other people's work in your game and things like that. Because they're very personal projects a lot of the time. If they're just one or two people, it's an interesting space. Like I know I've taken a lot of feedback from the local scene here, and also when I've traveled to events and talked to people like at GDC and showed them the game and gotten a lot of feedback and changed things based on perspective of other indie devs, especially people who've done something in a similar space to what I'm doing. But direct collaboration is kind of harder to do.
Right. All right, we got another question from Indie Gamer Chick. Where did it go? Does Nintendo push you guys to favor one platform over the other? For example, a Wii U game versus a 3DS game.
I haven't experienced any of that so far.
Okay.
Well, the program I'm in is not open to 3DS, so I don't really have a choice. I mean, I would if Web Framework or even Unity came to 3DS, I would be all over it. So because that install base, I mean,
yeah, it's big.
That's just a gold mine waiting right there. So theoretically.
It's kind of a tougher platform to build some things on. Like for us, it would be really hard to bring Cactus to 3DS, you know.
Right.
But
yeah, you'd have to build something from the ground up. Is what you'd have.
Yeah. That's how I see the 3DS as well. It's like it's not only is the hardware wise, it's kind of in a different space to everything else, but input wise, it's like single analog stick. So you really want to be using the touch screen, using the dual screens, making something that's compelling as a 3DS game, and not kind of bringing other stuff to the 3DS.
Right. I mean, it's not something you really want to just port for the sake of porting, just to have, Although, I mean, Mike, I think your game would be great on the 3DS, just because of the touchscreen mechanics that are so important in it. It would make sense, but until they get Unity or something running on there, it doesn't really seem feasible.
Yeah, it's actually the number one request I get is to put the game on 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
But that's actually even that request is second to making Minecraft for Wii U. So, on Miiverse, that's like the number one thing. They're like, Mike, why don't you make Minecraft? Because it's not my game.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's and the other guys here. That's part of the downside to Miiverse is the fact that it is open to 3DS owners now. So you get a lot of younger gamers that come on and they're just like, oh hi, or what's this game about? Instead of going to read the description in the eShop, they'll personally ask you what the game is, and some of them get a little upset if you don't reply to them. So I do my best to reply to everybody.
Sure.
Some of them will ask you some crazy questions, like one of them asked me how to ask a girl out. So yeah,
Nice.
there's some really, really funny, and I purposely go and try to find the funny ones and I post them up on Twitter, just because you have to laugh at them. So.
Amazing. I know it's off topic, but I really want to know what you told that kid.
You know what? I actually did not. I did not reply to that post.
You didn't.
Because I didn't know what to say. Like I didn't want to give him bad advice.
Sure
And,
you did.
the thing is, like the way it used to be with a verified user on Miiverse is that all of your posts would show up as under the verified users space. So I didn't want that to kind of like show up under my name as some crazy thing. Yeah, but now they've changed it a little bit so that only your most recent post shows up on that list, which is great now because it cuts down on spam and stuff like that. So.
Well, that's how O2 Games.
That was a mess.
I don't like to badmouth I mean, that's a lie. I love to badmouth people, but I don't like to do it, on my work side. But damn, man, like that's just something you got to do in private. Like imagine, if you, Mike, attacked, the fall. Oh, the fall sucks. Like, why would you do that on your personal account, on Miiverse, right in front of people? Like, I don't know
Yeah,
that.
well, it's funny. It's funny. You could tell there's like a language barrier to begin with on that post, because when I was initially reading it, I was like, oh, they're giving her props for her game, right?
Right.
I'm reading it, and then Go Nintendo ran a story about how, one was bashing the other, and then I'm like, I didn't read that. So then I went back through it, and I'm like, oh yeah, it does kind of sound like they're bashing. And then I was starting to read all the comments and everything like that. I was like, wow, this is getting way, way out of hand. And thankfully by that time Nintendo caught wind of it and they took it down. So.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was good.
but yeah, I mean, in that situation, the only thing you could really do is just not respond to it, which I think would have been the best thing to do. And
Yeah,
and then
they both kind of looked bad, but I don't know, man.
yeah.
The whole,
I don't like to talk like I don't know. My mom always taught me that if I had anything bad to say about somebody, just don't say it. So
right.
yeah, so that's why I don't like. I'm not going to really comment on who was right and who was wrong and what was what. But just overall, it was in bad taste.
Jason has a serious question from one of our viewers, but there's a question that I have to ask. Mike, I'm not going to allow you to answer it, but this is a great question from Bradley News 11. What is it like developing games in a basement? All right, don't answer it. We're going to Jason. Jason, go ahead.
We are going to get an answer on that after, though, right? All right. Well, next question I have here. Just hang on to that, Mike. It's from P2. We have many people say Wii U is the most indie-friendly console. Do you guys agree or disagree with that statement?
So far, absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
So we agree.
Although I
I'd
don't.
say it's so friendly that it doesn't really matter between them at the moment. Although I'm not making an Xbox game, so make of that what you will.
Yeah.
And she actually followed it up with another question that I'm sort of interested in. Is it up to the developers or Nintendo to release a demo for your game?
Developers.
Developers, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And that's kind of curious because you would think more developers would want to, at least have a small demo for their game on the eShop, so that way, people could try them out if they were kind of on the fence about it.
There's a few things that go into that though. Like demos are a lot of work,
Right.
and there's a prevailing idea at the moment that demos actually reduce sales. Although I don't agree with that.
Well, I mean, the price point has dropped significantly over the last few years. I mean, prices keep going down. I'm not exactly convinced that doing a demo is going to help me at all, frankly.
No,
Yeah, I guess that's true. Maybe the full retail releases maybe, but like an indie game, you're not paying. The indie games are almost. There's two people that really buy indie games. There's people that have followed the game and are interested in the game, or it's an impulse purchase. And maybe you're right. The demo would kind of take away from the impulse purchase. I mean, then you'd end up with something like the OUA, or however the hell you pronounce it, where like nobody buys games on it. I have one downstairs. I've never bought a game on it. All I do is play demos.
and that's exactly my stance on it. Like, if people, like, if in most cases, at least this is what I've been told from other Ouya, which is how it's pronounced, Ouya developers, is that their biggest complaint was the fact that everything had to be free to play, and the fact that people would literally just download the demos and not buy anything. So,
Yeah, I mean, I've never bought anything.
and that's
on it.
exactly why they've changed the rules, where yes, you have the option of doing that, but now you have the option of actually charging up front for your game with no demo. Like, and the way I look at it too, like, okay, like I don't have a demo for Block Drop U, but the price is small, and I from time to time I like to run sales on my games. If you're really on the fence, just wait for a sale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when it goes down to 99 cents, like,
Right.
why-
Like, but even like a $10 game, if it goes down to $5, come on, you can't throw $5 their way to try it out.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, $10 is almost the impulse level anyway, I think.
yeah, it is. And
There gets into a big problem when you start talking about demos, I think, because I mean, if we're being honest, I mean, a demo is technically a sales device, like it's a marketing device. It's to let people, give the game a try and see if they like it or whatever. But for an indie or for anybody in that matter, really what it comes down to is this is going to take me a while to put together a demo. Is it going to be better for users also, but also just my sales and getting this game out to as many people as possible to have a demo or not? And if you really want to talk about doing an effective demo, then you're looking at making marketing material, which means that the demo's got to be designed not just to give people a positive experience, but it's also got to be designed to create this sense of like, oh, I want to see more, or that like wantant like sense of like, oh, I only got a taste, but I really want to see where this goes, which is a whole other project, right?
and that's the thing too. Like, okay, make a demo, you have to go through the same process of publishing that demo as you do your regular game. So do you really want to take all of that time out of your development and delay your game or all that, in the sake of those who hire employees? Like, do you really want to waste all that payroll making that demo versus just getting the game out there?
Right.
Right.
It's a nightmare.
So to play devil's advocate, we actually did a demo for PC, and depending on how complex it would be, I would be tempted to do one for console releases as well. I actually think even though there's a lot of stuff where it's a ton of work, and it's work that doesn't go into making your game release faster or making your game better because it's all throwaway. That's the biggest problem, is it's 100% throwaway work. I still think it's an interesting thing to do, and I like the fact that there's a demo out there and somebody can play the demo, decide the game is not for them, not buy it, and then not be like angry at me for making a game that they paid money for that they hate. And I think it brings in people. I think, especially if you have a game that's not well known, a demo can be great for letting people have a look at it and learn that it's good. In our case, we have a game that externally you kind of look at it and you don't necessarily know that it's interesting or that it's good, because a lot of its inherent, like, there's a stupid term, but its inherent goodness is in when you play it, it feels good to play. It's not a high concept game. It's not a thing that you look at and immediately have a strong attraction to.
That's true. I guess you have a very mechanics heavy game, right? A lot of gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in our case, I think we will convert more people than we'll lose by having a demo.
All right, I just wanted to go through, because we got some new people. We have a new visitor in here, and then new people in the chat room. I'm Shawn Long from Nintendo Enthusiast. Jason is the man with the glasses. He is also from Nintendo Enthusiast. We have John from The Fall, which is coming out on both, Steam? It's out on Steam now, right?
Yep.
Okay, and it's coming to the Wii U as well. We have Mike from Block Drop U, Super Robo Mouse. I forget the name of your new game. What is it?
Poker Dice Solitaire Future.
Yes, Poker Dice Solitaire Future, which looks pretty cool. There's an unknown developer in the room, Mr. Patrick. Patrick just recently became a Wii U developer, and he's working on some cool things.
Yep.
And finally, we have Nat. I believe we decided I was going to call you.
Yeah, that's my nickname. It
Yes.
Nat?
We have Nat from the upcoming Assault Android Cactus, as you've seen on the eShop. Upcoming previews. Nintendo's done a trailer for it. It's definitely one of the more heavily promoted games because, it looks pretty cool. I believe Jason has a question because Shawn has to have a cigarette.
And also, I should add, I hate to be rude, but I think I might bail in about 20 minutes. I got to get back to work here. I'm falling behind.
Oh, you're good, man. We have no idea how long these are going to go, and they always end up going way longer than they should. But
I think I'm going to head off at some point soon as well because I got to have breakfast or something. It's almost 11 a.m. here.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to eat some dinner eventually as well.
I'm in that.
Oh.
I got my ramen ready. All right, Jason, go ahead and hit me with the question, and then, we'll take it from there.
Before you go, I didn't catch Patrick. Which game were you developing?
Top secret.
Oh, no, it's a
haven't,
secret.
haven't
Oh, no.
announced anything yet. I don't want to get people's hopes up, just in case it
Okay.
doesn't happen.
Cool.
But yeah.
All right, so there's a teaser then. All right, so the question we had, it was from Pikmin Rocks. It's have you guys been able to implement stamps in your games, or can you talk a bit about how difficult it is to work with that system?
Can we talk about that?
I don't think you really can. I mean, other than saying that you can do all that stuff, it's not like it's hidden from you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we can put. I'm pretty sure we can put them in there, because the developer of Chris over at Ping 1.5 Plus was pretty public about him putting stamps in his game and showed screenshots. So I'm pretty sure that you can, like, we can say we can do it, but I mean, we're not going to go into the process of how you do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, but me personally, like for me, it's a little difficult right now because I'm new to game development and I don't come from a background in programming. So for me at this time right now, it's kind of out of the question for me. But it's something that I'm definitely interested in doing. And once I can do it, I might go back and update my titles to kind of add it in. But we'll see when that comes to that.
How about John or Nat? What do you guys think of that system? Have you guys worked with it yet?
Well, I can't
sorry.
comment really because as of right now, the fall, I don't have any plans to include stamps with the fall. We'll see if that's a mistake or not. But so I haven't gotten my fingers dirty yet.
Okay.
And for us, it's kind of a similar situation where we haven't implemented any of those systems yet. So, but I know about them and I would like to include them. We do have some plans for bits and pieces of art in the game, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The stamp stuff is really, to me, it only becomes really important when you have a strong Miiverse integration. So for us, I think the Miiverse stuff's going to be quite good, and I'd like to do it.
Okay.
I think stamps are kind of, sort of, Nintendo Wii U's version of achievements in a way.
Yeah.
Like you get them through unlocking. You unlock them through playing the game, and you can share them with people. I think it's cooler than regular achievements.
You need a good space to showcase them though. Like Mario has a really great system for bringing up the Miiverse stuff and making it relevant, and then people can use the stamps. Like if a level has lots of Koopas in it or something, they'll use the Koopa stamp and make a little funny almost webcomic style thing out of it, right? And it feels relevant, it feels interesting, but if your game doesn't have any moments where it's really appropriate to have the Miiverse integrated like that, it can be kind of irrelevant to have a ton of work in the stamps. So it kind of goes hand in hand with the Miiverse stuff for me.
Actually, as gamers, do you guys prefer, say, achievements, or do you prefer stamps? Do you think they're similar? Is one better than the other? What do you guys prefer?
I'm personally not a collector.
I love collecting shit. So I would I don't know. I kind of that's kind of one of the reasons why some of the purchases that I've made recently on third-party software has been on the Xbox versus my Wii U, which is a terrible thing to say. But like for instance, like Child of Light, I actually purchased on the Xbox, and I'm new to the whole Xbox achievements thing. Like I'm like my Xbox One is my first Xbox I've ever had, so to me it's really exciting to see that little ding at the bottom of your screen to see it pop up. That's why I purchased actually some of my software on the Xbox versus the Wii U. But I mean it's equally important too to see new stamps, and anyone that follows my personal account on Miiverse will see that I use the speech bubbles to kind of plug Block Drop U a little bit. I had some captions into the Koopas, and they're like, oh yeah, you should get Block Drop U and all this other stuff. So it's fun to play around with them, and You know, as soon as I'm technically able to put them in, like once I reach that level of experience, then I think I'm gonna have a fun time adding them in my games. So.
You know, personally, I'm a fan of achievements as well, but I think stamps have a lot of potential in how they're used. I mean, the idea of collecting something that's actually useful is way better than achievements where I just, collect them on my own. Yeah.
I'm kind of the same. I actually I hate achievements and gamer score and trophy points and all those things, but I love unlockables and goalposts and targets. You know, like when the game tells you, when GoldenEye tells you that you need to beat a level in under 2 minutes and 19 seconds on the hardest difficulty, and then you do that and you unlock something awesome or even something minuscule or irrelevant, it feels so much more interesting and rewarding to me than the game has to have 1,000 points that you go after, and then it has to be spread across 30-something achievements, and it has to have this many bronze trophies and this many silver trophies. That stuff is boring to me compared to like actual goals, actual achievements.
I agree with that completely. And the GoldenEye setup was a perfect example. Those cheats were a lot of fun, man.
And that's yeah.
I don't really like when I'm playing, 360 or PS. Like when they made the trophy system, that was kind of to me on the PS3. That was kind of like, why? Like, I don't really. Obviously I like to collect, games, but I don't like to collect, just little achievements. All right. Let's do, because I know two of you guys are heading out soon. Mike, why don't you go ahead and show that concept art? That would be very cool if you would be willing to do that for Super Robo Mouse.
Okay. So I have two slides to show. Some concept art from when development began in January, February timeframe up until now on the progress of the game. And let me try to do this without showing my taskbar.
As a side note, Patrick looks like Drama from Rob Dyrdek's show. He looks like Drama, Rob Dyrdek's cousin. I'm sure he gets that all the time. You do, dude. You do.
I've never gotten that before.
Are you serious? Someone has to agree with me here. He looks like Drama. He just has a bigger beard right now. But when he was in here last time, I was like, damn, is this Drama from Rob Dyrdek's show? Like, we got an MTV person in the house. You might as well just, like, that to pick up chicks. Like, I would.
Priorities.
I'm a simple person. All right, it looks like we have the
Great.
All right, well, I don't know. Is it up on the full screen?
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
And we're only up till this point of the screen, right?
Yep, you're good.
Good. Okay. So this is just some random bits of art that now I did not draw any of this. I am a terrible, terrible artist. For anyone who has played the original version of Block Drop U before the update, you will realize that I have absolutely no art skills whatsoever. So what I basically do is, I contracted an artist for this project, and I go ahead and I send them. Sometimes I sketch out my ideas, or I'll just tell him my ideas of what I'm kind of looking for, and then he comes back to me with these just amazing hand-drawn animations, and he's done a fantastic job on this so far. Because it is all hand-drawn, that's kind of what is taking the title so long. I did want it out a little bit sooner. I'm hoping to get it out by the end of this year, because it has been in development for a while now. But the title, of course, is Super Robo Mouse. We showed footage with I forget what the name of the program was that we did. It was an interview, I think, Nintendo Weekly.
No, you did some with us, Nintendo
Enthusiast Radio. Yeah. So yes. I showed some footage of that with that interview. So some of this might look familiar. I'm sure you can see my cursor. So this right here, this little piece of art right here, this is for the first boss, World 1. right here. These in the middle, these are just some of the mechanics from World 1. This shows the laser suit that you'll get to use when you're fighting the bosses of the world. Alright, and then you got some concept art from World 2, including the boss from World 2, as well as some of the elements. And then I have one more slide, and I hope I push this the right way. Nope. There we go. Now this is a world that's still in progress right now. This is World 3. It's going to have a water theme to it. And then we got some sharks, some cannons that shoot out starfish, and things like that over here on the left. In the middle, we got an electric eel that is going to spark electricity when he's fully extended out to try to kill Robo. And then we're still working on the third boss of this world. That's the last piece of the puzzle, but it's going to be centered around a hammerhead shark. I'm only showing images from the first 3 worlds because those are going to be the 3 worlds that are featured in the trailer that I hope to have out sometime this summer. So it'll have bits and pieces from those first 3 worlds. World 4 and 5 will remain a secret until you go in and actually play the game. Gotta keep you guessing for something. But yeah, it looks really good in action, and right now, I'm kind of working on getting it up to 60 frames per second, but it does run at a 1080p. So it's looking really nice right now.
All right, well, I think everyone has to go for either Eats or the Sony conference because, although we are Nintendo enthusiasts, we got to pay attention to what's going on elsewhere. I would like to thank everyone for joining us, either all the viewers, of course. I would like to thank Mike from Block Drop U, Super Robo Mouse, for showing us that awesome concept footage, exclusively here. I'd like to thank Nat from Assault Android Cactus. God, I'm butchering.
Hey, you're getting it good. Like, most people get it wrong way more often than that.
Okay. I'd like to thank him for joining us and answering questions, and of course, John from The Fall for answering all your questions. This is just one part of our 7-part E3 coverage. We got people going there live. Be sure to check the initial post. I will share that in the chat room in a second to where you can get all the information. We got a high-def stream of tomorrow's event, a bunch of cool stuff going on. Jason's heading out there tomorrow to get some exclusive footage. We've got a team of 6 guys out there. So it's going to be a really exciting day. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with us, and that'll do it. All right, stick with NintendoEnthusiast.com.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, everyone.